And to provide more analysis, joining us from Washington is Mrs. Ginger Chapman, lawyer and political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us. And from Iowa, Mr. Newman Abuissa, political analyst on U.S. affairs. Thank you so much for joining us. I would start with you, Mrs. Chapman. Now, in the SNAP freeze, a budget failure, or is it a deliberate strategy to punish Democratic-leaning voters under the guise of fiscal discipline?
Well, thank you, Hala, for having us today,
Always
and
a pleasure.
greetings to your viewers and to your other guests. And what we're seeing is the breakdown of our federal government. We have had previous shutdowns. However, no previous shutdowns have been as polarized as this shutdown, where both parties have dug in and they appear unwilling to even negotiate with the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, what we are seeing is the American people are unwillingly caught up in this political battle in Washington, D.C. And as you've noted, it extends far beyond just the shutdown of food stamps, SNAP, supplemental nutrition, and other benefits that the poor people in America would get. This also has to do with our health insurance. Our medical care in this country has been broken for 15, 20 years, and we are finally, our broken medical system is finally catching up with us. And this is all happening at a time when it appears that the future of America and American values are at stake. What do we stand for as a country? Republicans and Democrats have very different ideas about where the future of America should go.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, we are seeing, as you've noted, air traffic controllers are not getting paid, so flights are being delayed across the country. Poor people are not getting their supplemental nutrition or food stamp benefits. Federal workers are not getting paid. And we are seeing food banks open up across America where charities are trying to pick up the slack from the food stamps. They say they cannot do this. And this is all against a backdrop of immigration enforcement, which is happening in a very public and very violent or intimidating manner on the American streets. The Trump administration says this is to encourage immigrants to self-deport. This is also to make it clear to the states that the federal government will not tolerate states putting immigrants on food stamps or on health care benefits. So essentially, this is a mess. And we do see the Trump administration with their deportation network. They are now working with sheriff's offices, as you mentioned. I believe it's the 297 agreements with sheriff offices so that they can create a deportation network where local police apprehend immigrants, put them in a network where they are transported to Texas or to other detention facilities in order for processing and possible deportation. And these detention facilities themselves are alarming to the American people because once any government creates 10,000, 50,000 bed detention centers, initially they say it's for one purpose, but with the climate in America, the American people, including Republicans, are very suspicious of anything that looks like detention centers or internment camps because of our World War II history. So things are becoming much more tense in America.
Yes.
On Tuesday, this will be the longest shutdown we've ever had. And it looks like the only break we may get in the shutdown is after the elections on Tuesday, the mayoral elections in New York, the gubernatorial elections for governor in New Jersey and other states. Those elections may give us an opportunity to break this logjam and to reopen our government. But right now, things do not look good, and they look like they're getting worse.
Yes. Mr. Abuissa, can rural America absorb the $8 billion SNAP shock when Walmart and local groceries lose their most vulnerable customers overnight?
Greeting to your guest, your audience, and yourself. Thank you for hosting me. And yes, it's very hard for America to see what is happening now. It's a squabble between the trifecta, the Republican controlling the White House, the Congress, and also the Supreme Court. And then we have the Democrats are trying to have some say in gaining or keeping the health insurance for some of Americans who are poor and cannot afford the health insurance. And then the Republican in our government do not agree with the Democrat, and they want to show that they have a complete power and no say for the Democrats, and that's why we are seeing the longest government shutdown in the biggest government in the biggest country, in the most affluent, richest country in the world and in history, and trying to starve the children and the elderly for political gains for the president party. And that is the president's way of expressing himself, that he is trying to satisfy those Republicans who are not happy with the situation, and he's trying to blame all the problems in the U.S. on the immigrants, and that is not America, the America which we know, the America which is real. The president has cut the food on the most vulnerable people, those people who are going to be disrupting the whole supply chain. The grocery stores are stocking for the average people, and now people are not going to be able to buy their food from those grocery stores, and there will be disruption in the whole economy. In addition to that, there will be people on the streets, and will be more crimes, and there will be more cost on the police side and on the jail side also. So this kind of struggle is happening between Republicans and Democrat, and it's almost like kids play, showing at the highest level of the American political system, and that is a shame on the United States of America.
Yes. Mrs. Chapman, how does the Trump administration's claim that food aid mostly helps Democrats square with the fact that over half of SNAP recipients live in Republican states?
Yes, and this is one of the things that shows just how the Republicans and Democrats can no longer say this is a Democrat issue, this is a Republican issue, because Republican areas contain many rural areas, and these rural areas contain poor white people that also rely on SNAP benefits and welfare benefits. So every American is affected right now. As your other guest pointed out, it's not just the people who are relying on these benefits to purchase food, to be able to pay their heating bills as winter is approaching. In many northern states, heating assistance is part of the SNAP benefits, and winter is coming. But it's also that the ripple effects spread out into the broader economy, the supermarkets, the Walmarts. When people are not spending their benefits at these businesses, then the businesses are not making as much money. They are not able to pay their employees as much. And many of these businesses also engage in charitable work in their communities. They also make significant donations outside of their sales to help poor people. Corporate charity is very big in America. So we're also hindering businesses' ability to spend their profits and revenue in the community, and also to continue their charitable work in the community.
Okay.
And
yes. Of course, I would continue my discussion with you, Mrs. Chapman, but I go now to Mr. Abuissa. With states like Iowa now dipping into emergency funds, is this a safety net or a slow motion collapse of federal responsibility?
This dipping in this kind of funds is a small amount in a big need. So it's only $1 million. For example, the state of Iowa is trying to match donations from private sector, but the needs are in the hundred of million of dollars, a lot more than what the state is. It's a token, basically trying to show that they sympathize with the poor. However, this kind of action is not sufficient, and it's gonna continue allow the collapse, as you mentioned, in the social contract between the people and the government. The government is losing trust in the with the American people, and also the employment is in need of new workers, and those immigrants who are coming to this country are not coming anymore. There's strict restrictions on all people coming. For example, those professionals who used to come and serve us as doctors and nurses, now they can't come because the president put $100,000 fee on their visa to come to this country, and that is changing the whole dynamic of the employment, of the social contract, of the people on the who are depending to feed their kids and send their kids to school and be productive members of the community as part of a contract we have in this country, that we are the richest country and we cannot feed our own kids. That is not something that the states or the charitable organizations can exchange for the federal government, who has been established for a long time to provide this kind of services, and it's going to take long time for those private entities to be able to substitute for the federal government. So the federal government is not doing its role, and it's obvious that they are working against the court because some of the judges are ruling that those actions are illegal and they do not meet the American law and regulations, and then they don't really care for the law or for the people in this country, and that is showing very much in every street in the United States, and that does not speak well for our country.
Mrs. Chapman, how do you reconcile the administration's worst of the worst narrative with ICE data showing that 72% of recent detainees have no criminal records?
Well, one of the things the Trump administration would say is that just by virtue of crossing our border illegally and remaining in the country illegally, that does give them a criminal record. And initially, Trump did say he was going after the criminals that were brought into or that crossed our border during Biden's flood of 25 million people that did cross our border. However, your guest makes another important point, which is that previously, border crossers worked in low-income, low-skilled jobs, construction, harvesting crops. These were jobs that Americans used to do. Now, with the H-1B visas, we see that immigrants have come in to work in white-collar jobs and upper-middle-class jobs. And this is something that has alarmed the American people because we see hundreds of thousands of H-1B visa holders come in, and they view this as taking jobs from more skilled Americans. And this outcry is what has led Donald Trump to impose this fee. But this just shows how chaotic our immigration system is and how it has served many different interests, corporate interests, political interests, rather than serving the needs of the American people and also the needs of the people that come here to work. One other point is all of this is happening against a backdrop of a very chaotic, very tense international foreign policy backdrop. And the American people, are seeing President Trump travel abroad. What we have known is historically, when a president focuses on foreign wars, they are unable to carry out their domestic policy. And this is what we may be seeing. The American people have seen Trump carry out foreign diplomatic trips that are critical, that are essential to the national security of America, also our allies, and indeed critical to global peace. However, at the same time, President Trump needs to focus his attention at home. Even Republicans are angry at Trump because we see that we have spent hundreds of billions of dollars on war and weapons in Ukraine. Within 2 years, we sent $32 billion to Israel only to bomb Gaza, Yemen, Iran. We are spending hundreds of billions of dollars on our war efforts. At the same time, we say we have no money at home to feed our poor.
Yes.
And this contrast is what is the Democrats are capitalizing on it. They're saying, where is Trump? But at the same time, this is causing a fracture within the Republican Party itself.
Exactly.
And we do see Trump lashing out at some Republicans. And so the Republican Party is also fractured and in a disarray over our foreign policy as it relates to our domestic and economic spending.
Yes. Mr. Abuissa, why replace ISIS targeted operations with border patrols, dragnet raids in cities 1,000 miles from any border, unless the goal is fear, not security?
Absolutely. The goal is fear, and I've seen it with my own eyes in my own city. We have the ICE came to detain one immigrant in the state here, and he has a chip on his ankle. They know exactly where he's going and all his movements around. He was at the job in the middle of the day in downtown, and they came with the abduction. They abducted him in the middle of his job in a grocery store and took him and made sure that there are cameras taking when they were taking him, and those cameras are showing that the abduction. So they are trying to have publicity for their for fear mongering and for to show that they are doing a job against the immigrant, especially after the president blames the immigrant for all kinds of ills in the society. I am an immigrant myself, and I am a productive member of this community, and I work and provide for this community. And there is millions of immigrants like us, but he's trying to target all immigrants and showing that they are the ones who are criminal and who are the ones who are breaking the law and who are the ones who do not conform. And the vice president said that people should speak English only, and there's no tolerance for other languages, even though we know many communities in the United States speak their own native languages, and they are loved for that. And there are some older people who cannot learn the English language, for example, and they have ways of living in this community, and the United States have allowed that kind of living coexistence in the past, but now the English white supremacist wants everything to be their way.
Exactly. Mrs. Chapman, as detention centers like the Broadview deny detainees counsel and coerce deportations, where is the due process, the consultation guarantees?
Well, we do know that immigrants have a lower right of due process in our courts under our Constitution. However, this raises the important point that many of these battles are moving into the courtroom. We saw the Chicago judge that ordered Gregory Bovino, the head of the Chicago immigration program. He was ordered to report to court every day, to report to her on what is happening in the streets. Another judge temporarily and then permanently blocked that order. We also see that district courts are ordering President Trump to release money for food stamps and SNAP benefits. So what we are seeing is these battles that would normally be carried out in Congress by our legislators are moving into the courts, and these battles are being fought in the courts. This is inefficient. This takes much longer to resolve issues. The courts take a long time. They will issue orders. Other courts will block those orders. So this modern tactic of running to the courts to have the courts decide these issues is this is running against and counter to the responsibilities of our Congress and our American system of governance. This will only make things worse by involving the courts. However, the courts are necessary to safeguard rights of both immigrants and American citizens. So essentially, we are descending further into legislative and judicial chaos and executive branch chaos. President Trump needs to be at home acting as the president and using his power and influence to resolve this rather than taking trips abroad. Foreign issues are critical right now. We're at the risk of World War III. However, Trump needs to focus his attention at home as well as calming the waters overseas. So America is in, once again, many people are saying that America is on the brink of a deeper, broader civil unrest. Events seem to be pushing us in that direction, and it remains to be seen if, after the elections that are happening next week in November 5th, after this, if our legislators and our Congress and our president can finally meet and work together for the good of the American people rather than the good of their political careers and their public image.
Okay. Mr. Abuissa, are food aid cuts and militarized raids two sides of one political coin, disciplining the poor while also criminalizing the foreign?
Yes, the current administration do feel that they have the upper hand and the full authority to do what they please, and they want no objection to their decisions, either from the Democrat or from the public or from immigrants for that matter. For example, they don't want to work with the Democratic minority in Congress, and that was clear to us in the last few days and weeks that the Republicans are saying that they either submit to our will or we will not deal with the Democrat. And even though they are the majority, they should be responsible for all the decisions in our government. They are blaming the minority in our government. The same thing is happening also on the streets. They want full control of our streets, even though some of the cities do not have a problem. They are sending ICE agents and border patrol to those cities. And those forces are designed to defend the United States against foreign enemies, not people of the United States on our streets. And they are claiming that those streets are the enemy, and they are trying to portray that kind of image. They are protecting the United States from the enemy within. But those enemy within, those immigrants, have lots of support on the ground, and many churches and many civic groups are coming together to work together to support this group here and the immigrants in the United States. And I've seen it in protests, weekly protests, and indivisible protests in hundreds of cities in the United States. And this movement is growing bigger and bigger to counteract the federal government's trial to have a submittal, even though the Constitution gives the power to the people.
Yes. Well, that was Mr. Nu'man Abuissa, political analyst on U.S. affairs. Thank you so much. And also Mrs. Ginger Chapman, lawyer and political analyst. Thank you so much. Thank you both for your special insights and your valuable discussion.